Well, you just heard the announcer, man. 12 days away from the beginning of the college football season. Next week at this time, we will be kicking off game week. Granted, Auburn and Alabama not playing or UAB, but we're a step closer to the season finally being here.
I told my wife this morning, I said, babe, it's last week before it all starts. We say our goodbyes.
This last Friday night was my last Friday night without something to do on a Friday evening.
Yep.
I got a jamboree coming up this Friday night, and then the next week it starts. And we play 10 straight weeks.
Did you do anything Friday night that it would be uncharacteristic for you? Like, you know what? I'm going to try it this Friday night. No, they have a free Friday night.
No, I didn't. It was interesting because my wife and her cousin and a good friend of hers from college, they went out to dinner and kind of hung out. But I just hung out at the house since that was going to be my last Friday night to do so.
I played dominoes for the first time in my life this weekend.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did you win?
Oh, I love dominoes.
Well, we made a run to Target, and my wife found some in the living section that looked nice in a little wooden box and had little gold dominoes. And they were kind of hard to see. I had to put on my readers, but I like dominoes.
It's fun, yeah.
It's fun.
Before you know it, you'll be playing backgammon.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had seen a group of older gentlemen playing dominoes when we went down to Miami. I was getting a Cuban sandwich, and they were all sitting out there. It was totally a stereotype of how you would think.
You going to join a bridge club soon?
No, I've always associated bridge for women. I don't know why. My grandmother played bridge. She was pretty serious about it. Hope everyone's doing well. Happy Monday.
All right. Well, we had scrimmages. We had Auburn on Friday. Not a lot of news was making its way to the media on Friday before we signed off. So let's start there with the Auburn Tigers. Halfway now officially through fall camp. They've had 10 practices. They have 20. So they're halfway through. They had their first scrimmage. Defense ruled the day on Friday. So if you're looking for a lot of offensive firepower in that scrimmage, it did not happen. Auburn's group of edge rushers, a very good afternoon. The positive for the offense was there was some glimpses of some explosiveness from the wide receivers, so that was good. The kicking game continues to be just spot on. That was an area of concern last year because of some injuries and sickness, but this year they have had a really good fall camp. We will talk to Jason Caldwell. He will break it down even further for us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Auburn practiced yesterday. They took Saturday off the day after the scrimmage. So scrimmage number 2 will be this Friday. And then their final scrimmage of the fall camp will be August the 22nd. So Thursday was a really good day. Jackson Arnold had a tremendous afternoon. Not saying they had a terrible day, but the defense ruled the scrimmage on Friday morning.
I guess that's good, and it's hard without knowing the particulars of who was in there, who wasn't. But if there was a question mark back in the spring, it would have been the defensive line for Auburn and who was going to be there, not necessarily at edge. We know about the offensive line. Roster-wise, it's the best that they've had there in a little bit. So I guess you feel good about that if you're Auburn.
Yeah. Keldrick Falk continues to be that dude on the defense, which is no big surprise, SEC preseason defender. So we will continue to follow that and what the offense. They're practicing later this afternoon, and the offensive coaches are going to be made available to the media. So it'll be very fascinating because Hugh Freeze did not speak to the media after the scrimmage. Offensive coaches will be later this afternoon around 5 o'clock. So we'll get to see what they have to say, how they break down the offensive performance on Friday. Auburn did get some good news late on Friday afternoon. 4-star wide receiver Jace Matthews, he commits to Auburn. The 6'2 wideout from Leakesville, Mississippi, rated as the number 9 wide receiver in the nation, according to On3. On3 now has Auburn at number 37 in recruiting. 247, they have a different formula. They say Auburn is 54th in recruiting. So subscribe to whichever one.
So Auburn's 37th in recruiting is what I just
said. Well, we were used to this, guys. During the election, we saw political polls that were out there.
Very different.
Very different. Don't know how they tabulate them.
A lot of different quotients.
Go with the one that fits your narrative the best. So if you're an Auburn fan, point to 37.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a naysayer, point to a higher number.
If you're Conrad, he's going to say 54.
Well, yeah. And then he'll add a few.
I thought they were 70th.
See?
They were 70th.
See what he's doing?
According to 247, they were 70th before they got that wide receiver.
If you add them together, they're 91st. Isn't that how that works?
Yes.
And then divided by 2. Now,
Yes.
45.5.
been reading a lot of positive things about some things down the pike in the pipeline for Auburn,
Saying that
including
too.
a potential 5-star cornerback. So
Maybe a flip of a very talented, committed running back right now
Yeah.
is some of the smoke that's out there.
So,
But
yeah.
Ronnie Sanders told us last week when he joined the show, he expects Auburn finish in the top 15.
Yeah. So well on their way with Chase Matthews. Speaking of Auburn, I did see this over the weekend, wanted to pass this along. We will be very soon start concentrating on that Baylor game. Baylor's number 2 running back, it was announced over the weekend that he suffered a season-ending injury to his foot. His name is Dawson Pendergrass. The junior running back was the team's second leading rusher in 2024. He rushed for 686 yards, 6 touchdowns on just 121 carries. Pendergrass also caught 11 passes for 103 yards and 1 touchdown. In his 2 years at Baylor, Pendergrass also rushed for over 100 yards in 3 separate games. So from a depth perspective, that's a big loss for Baylor. Their number 2 running back out for the season. Now, they got plenty of time in fall camp to find somebody else that will be able to carry the ball, but you got an individual that was obviously someone that they counted on and knows the system the last couple of years, and he will not be there for the Auburn game.
Nah, you hate it for the young man, but maybe that's good news for Auburn. I don't know. Texas, they had a lot of injuries at running back last year before the start of the season.
Didn't affect them a lot.
No, they seem to do all right.
Mm-hmm.
I think running back may be one of those positions, unless you're just decimated like a Texas was, and that's the only guy that has returning experience. That is one of those positions, I think, nowadays that, especially with the offenses, that maybe can be made up a little easier.
Well, and the good thing is if you're Baylor is you still have your guy that ran for over 1,000 yards and 6 yards a carry last year coming back. So that certainly helps you out. But, yeah, from a depth standpoint, hurts.
Alabama, meanwhile, they scrimmaged on Saturday, got plenty of really good intel of what took place inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. But let's hear from the head man. Kalen DeBoer met with the media. This was his assessment after scrimmage number 1.
A good scrimmage for the guys. I say it seems like every time, but I felt good about the back and forth. There was times the offense moved the ball, especially early up the field, and defense did a nice job anchoring down as the scrimmage went along. And we got into some situations at the end, some end of game stuff that I think is really important. You know, things that we're able to do much more and be comfortable repping those things. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but that's why we practice, and got some end of the game situations in there at the end too. So. Just kind of last second stuff, 7 seconds and last play of the game type thing.
That was Kalen DeBoer on Saturday after scrimmage number 1. The people that I talked to in Tuscaloosa, they told me that no question Ty Simpson is QB1. Don't know why we're waiting so long to make that announcement. Kalen DeBoer said it's going to be after scrimmage number 2. But hands down, he is QB1 from the people that I talked to and watched the scrimmage. Simpson was very good, had a good afternoon. Keelan Russell is the future. I mean, he had a really good day, but he is the future moving forward, just like I know Auburn folks will say Deuce Knight obviously is the future of that program. Williams and Horton, very good scrimmage. Those two are going to be a dynamic duo at the wide receiver. Don't forget, you got Jeremy Bernard. You also got Rico Scott. But I was told that Williams and Horton had a very good scrimmage. Jam Miller and freshman Kevin Riley, remember that name. Now, Kevin Riley, I remember watching him for a number of years. He played at Tuscaloosa County. He's a Northport kid. And he was one of those late adds to the Alabama recruiting class a couple of years ago. He's a really good running back, really good. And he and Jam Miller had a really good scrimmage on Saturday. So Kevin Riley from Northport's Tuscaloosa County High School had a very good showing. Offensive line, a solid day. They held their own against the defensive line. Matter of fact, I was told the first half of the practice, the defensive line was getting no push whatsoever against Alabama's offensive line. Now, that kind of changed in the second half of the scrimmage. The defensive line has started getting a little bit more penetration during the scrimmage. Linebackers, DBs, had a good day. No turnovers in the scrimmage. Not a one. Now, that's either really good for the offense or really bad for the defense, Langem. I'm not really sure because your defense is not creating turnovers.
Yeah.
But the offense is not turning the ball over.
Half empty, half full, I guess. Yeah. I saw Conrad's reaction, though, at the very beginning of that clip when DeBoer was talking about situationally the last 7 seconds, and I'm thinking, oh, great. Bunch of nail-biter games for Conrad this year.
Based on what we hear about the defensive line, Alabama's going to have to score 50 every game to
Now
be able to
started
win.
They started the second half of the
know.
scrimmage. The first half of the scrimmage, the information I was getting was
Let me spread lies, Pat.
okay. Whatever.
We've had teams that were not good on defense win national championships,
Yeah,
Conrad.
there's no doubt.
It's fine.
I'm just thinking LSU a couple of years ago.
LSU in 2019,
That's a good point.
right? That wasn't the Chicago Bears on defense.
No, that's fair.
Now,
Very fair.
DeBoer mentioned during his press conference afterwards, and he just, in a conversation, not that he was trying to keep it like it was a secret, but he pointed out that in the whole fall camp, they've only had 3 turnovers. So once again, is that the offense is
Defense is
being
bad,
so
man.
efficient,
Defense
or the
is bad.
defense just cannot put a hat on the ball and cause a turnover? I don't know.
Are they tackling?
Thudding? I don't know.
Staying up, not going to the ground?
Not really sure.
I will say, based on what you got out of the quarterback position last year, I'll take the no turnovers in practice.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
I feel like you had a surplus from last year.
Yeah.
Now, offensive lineman Jaden Roberts and defensive lineman James Smith did not participate due to injuries in the scrimmage. So,
One scrimmage in, though, for both schools.
Relatively healthy.
It's going to be a great year.
yep.
But relatively healthy is what I was going to say.
No practice for Alabama. We will detail a little bit further what took place after scrimmage number 1 with Nick Kelly from AL.com. He'll join us in the 12 o'clock hour. We're also anticipating coming up at the top of the hour at 11 o'clock, the AP preseason top 25 poll is due out. So we will get an opportunity to kind of compare and contrast how the coaches, how they voted about a week ago, and where the AP voters have coming up at 11.
Got to ask the question, where's Illinois going to be?
That is so interesting that you said that, because one of the AP voters, I was doing a little research this morning.
Oh, did they leak the poll or their vote?
There's some AP voters have released who they're voting for.
Mick Murphy will drop that 5 minutes for it.
So there's 65 voters representing all 50 states. So some states have multiple voters. John Wilner from the Mercury News, right outside of San Francisco, he released his top 25 ballot this morning. Clemson number 1, Penn State 2, Texas 3, Notre Dame 4, Ohio State 5. This is the one that got my attention. At number 6, Florida. Number 7, Oregon. Number 8, Georgia. Number 9, Illinois. Number 10, Alabama.
I like this guy.
John's been through a lot the last few years with the Pac-12.
A lot of realignment.
Yeah, he was boots on the ground for the whole Pac-12 thing and seemed like a very passionate Pac-12 guy who covered that conference for a long time. Clemson at 1, I don't have a problem with that. I wouldn't have a problem if he had him at number 5. Florida coming in at number 6 gives me pause. And Illinois at 9 is just no.
So I reached out to another AP voter that I knew, which is Scott Hamilton from the Charleston Post-Courier. And I said, hey, Scott, if you don't want to tell me, because all of this will be available at 11 o'clock. It is all public record. That's the way the AP does things. I said, if you don't want me to talk about it, or if you don't want to give me your top 25 ballot, I understand. I respect that. He said, sure, man. Here, have at it. His top 25 AP poll, Texas, Clemson, Penn State, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Notre Dame, Oregon, LSU, Miami. And I'm looking down here. He has Florida at 20.
What about Illinois?
15. So
If I had to pick between the two and they said you have to adopt one as your own, I would take Scott Hamilton's.
Oh, he's definitely in the Southeastern Conference footprint. He follows South Carolina and Clemson on a daily basis. So we'll see how the rest of the 65 voters, how they convalesce and come together, and they release that coming up at 11 o'clock.
Did he have Auburn in his top 25?
He did not.
Okay. Did he have Baylor?
He did not. His final 5, it was Texas Tech at 21, Ole Miss 22, Louisville 23, Tennessee 24, A&M 25.
Okay.
That was his final grouping.
Don't hate that final grouping.
Let me see what John Wilner had.
It sounds like Scott actually tried.
Matt Moscona will have to do an emergency podcast because they got LSU at 12.
Ooh.
Miami 13, Oklahoma 14. Just going down the list. Nebraska at 18, according to John Wilner.
Thanks, John. He usually ranks Nebraska pretty high.
South Carolina 20. Michigan 24. FSU 25.
All right, John.
John Wilner has the Seminoles coming in at number 25. So it's a top 25 battle at Doak Campbell. Number 10, Alabama.
Don't drink and vote,
versus
John.
number 25, Florida State.
He just knows something we don't know.
That's my favorite poll.
Also about Florida, he's got a beat on these Florida teams. Florida number 6, FSU 25.
Yeah, this is what he said about Florida. He says
he's got a source.
He says this ultra bright forecast will be proven correct or deeply flawed by the middle of October after the Gators finish 4 games in 5 weeks against LSU, Miami, Texas, and Texas A&M. Much depends on quarterback DJ Lagway producing the breakthrough season that many, including John Wilner, expect.
It's almost like he was on a plane. He's sitting there, and they're like, "Hey, you got to put all your stuff away. Put it in airplane mode." And he's like, "Oh, I've got to finish this poll. I got to send it in." And he just raced through.
See, I was thinking you were going like free drink voucher, and you didn't realize that when you're at that elevation, one beer can start to scramble the eggs a little bit.
I was
up
giving
there.
you the benefit of the doubt, but yes, I'm leaning now towards John was obliterated when he filled out his ballot.
So the AP Top 25 preseason poll will be out at 11.
Well, as we know, the Alabama heat and humidity can be brutal, but don't let it affect your home and family. Keep them comfortable with an affordable Trane cooling system. They've been recognized as America's most trusted brand for 11 consecutive years, and they're the official cooling partner here at Jock. So go and find a comfort specialist near you at Trane.com.
Well, it didn't take long, but an ACC network analyst said over the weekend he's ready to get back in coaching. We'll tell you who it is and what he said next. It is 10:21. This is Reaction Monday. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll talk to Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover. Is that old tree leaning a little bit too close to your house? Don't wait for the next storm to make that decision for you. Call Golston Tree Service at 205-337-4443. Your trusted local experts in fast, affordable, professional tree removal, trimming, and cleanup. Licensed, insured, ready to handle any job, big or small. Call Golston Tree Service today, 205-337-4443. And don't forget about their 24-hour emergency tree service. That number again, 205-337-4443. Well, it didn't take long, but speaking on the podcast Trials and Triumph with Freddie Stevenson, former Florida State and former Texas A&M head coach Jimbo Fisher says he's enjoying time with his family since leaving Texas A&M. But he pointed out that his track record as a head coach prior to how things ended in College Station, and said that he has enough fuel in the tank ready to get back in the business.
If the right situation comes along and it's right, I'm still 59. I'm still in great shape. I'm healthy. You know, I've had success everywhere we've ever been. We know at the end at A&M, it's unfortunate, but we also had the highest ranked team they ever had there in 2020. That's the last one they've had at 30. Well, we play with our quarterbacks got hurt. We play with first team and third team, and not only did they play good, it's just hard to get play calling and get guys around, and we play with a little inconsistency, and we didn't pan out like we needed to, but. I still, the way the game is, and yes, I still do, because I still love it. I never thought it was a job, and I loved it, and I think be able to do it, I would. I mean, I've been fortunate. I've won 72% of my games, won 80% of my playoff games, been fortunate to win a national championship as a head coach, as assistant, but so many I miss the relationships and the players. Yeah. But to ask you that, yeah, I would be very interested in still doing it, because I think I still got a lot to give, and I'd like to get back out there. I really would.
I like these selective statistical categories of I've won 80% of my playoff games. How many playoff games did Texas A&M play in?
I don't remember any.
That's what I thought.
Also, how does that work?
Now,
he's played in 2 playoff games at Florida State. He won the national championship game, and then he lost in the first round of the playoff the next year.
The closest Texas
That's
A&M
it.
came to a college football playoff was the pandemic year, right? Where they wanted to meet Ohio State. Kellen Mond said he
Yes.
wanted to meet Ohio State in the parking lot.
Where they finished number 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they got dog walked by Alabama. Yeah.
I'm looking at coaches' hot seat rankings right now and just programs that could be looking for a coach. If we start in the SEC, could you see him at Arkansas?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I could too. Would you say foregone conclusion because he was that name that was always there if Hugh Freeze was gone at Auburn? This was a lot easier answer 5 years ago.
Yes, possibly. I don't think he would be one of the top choices, but I do think that would be a conversation.
What about a job like Cincinnati?
I don't know if he would do that.
If he wants to get back in it, I think he would take any of those jobs.
You think so?
Absolutely.
He said it's got to be the right opportunity. They all say that. Does he just want to coach? How desperate is he to just get back in it and I'll take any job? I'll take a job with a lot of headaches and not much support, going from what he had in College Station to I want to deal with this every day for $1.5 to $2 million a year.
Well, I also think he's betting on the potential of multiple SEC jobs being open. So he lands the number 1 recruiting class back in 2021.
Heck of a class.
He was the preseason number 1 team in America. A&M struggles to a 5-7 record. They miss a bowl game entirely in 2022. The last 2 seasons at Texas A&M, he went 11-11. He was 6-9 in the SEC in his last 2 years at Texas A&M with that recruiting class. And you think back to 2006 when UAB came close to hiring Jimbo Fisher, and then the Board of Trustees vetoed him getting the job on the South Side in Birmingham. How that would have changed history, who knows? How long he would have stayed at UAB. Would the Florida State job been given him the opportunity to be coach in waiting when Coach Bobby Bowden was deciding to step down and retire?
Yeah. But if he gets the job in 2006 at UAB, does Chizik ever get the Auburn job? And does he get hired by Auburn?
True. And then does Chizik bring Cam Newton and Gus Malzahn?
Mm-hmm.
And then, this is fascinating how all of this could have happened.
Iowa State wins a national title with Gus Malzahn and Cam Newton.
So see Cam in Ames, Iowa. Don't see that.
He would have gone to Mississippi State, right?
Dan Mullen has a national
That's
championship.
right. There you go. There we go. I like Iowa State more, though.
It is kind of fun to go back and like all of the all the dominoes that would have fell.
Yep, the Board of Trustees said nope, not going to let that happen. They were ready for UAB's program to be finished off anyway, about 10 years earlier than they took it to the pasture.
Then
when
out
Bill
of the
Clark was
dark, one high school coach saw the light. He had a vision. Bill Clark brought championships.
So not only did Jimbo Fisher say he wants back in the game, but John Gruden speaking to the Georgia football team over the weekend. We all remember Gruden, the former NFL coach who resigned in 2021 amid the controversy over offensive emails. He has made it perfectly clear that he is ready himself to get back in the game.
The only reason I really came here is I want to coach again. I'm being honest with you. I do not either. I want to coach again. I'd die to coach in the SEC. I would love it. I would love it.
All right, so it looks like Jimbo Fisher and John Gruden are going to be fighting over they're going to be on the first names on every coaching hot list board if an SEC school decides to depart.
I mean, call me crazy. I'd hire John Gruden before I hired Jimbo Fisher.
I was about to ask, who's more likable? I know on this show, but for the masses, would it be Jimbo or would it be John?
I think John Gruden.
Well, John Gruden would win the press conference easily.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his enthusiasm based on him in recruiting homes and things like that, he knows how to put together a roster in the NFL. He knows about salary cap. He knows how to handle that side of the business.
See, that's who I like at Arkansas. Coach Cal and John Gruden.
Huh.
That would be.
You'll make some headlines.
I mean, I know the people at Tennessee, that's been the rumor galore for about 10 years.
Yeah, it has.
Didn't it get close one time?
Every single time. It was because John Gruden's wife was a Tennessee cheerleader or something.
Yeah, that was, I have no idea. I've never taken the time to go and actually see if she was.
Every single rumor is, oh, did you see Coach Gruden? He was at Calhoun's above the river there in Knoxville. He was meeting with big alums. He's going to be the guy. It never came to fruition. Instead, they were going after Greg Schiano.
Oh,
And people like that.
they love that. I'd love to see Gruden in the SEC.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Coming up next on Three Man Front, we'll go down to the plains of Auburn, talk to Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover, get his thoughts on the Auburn scrimmage from Friday, how fall camp is looking. That on a Reaction Monday, Jocks 94.5. It is 10:33 on this Reaction Monday. Welcome back in. This is Three Man Front. Pat, Molly, Conrad, Landrum with you until 2 o'clock. We hope to catch up with Jason Caldwell in just a couple of minutes from Auburn Undercover. In the 12 o'clock hour, we will talk to Nick Kelly from AL.com. We're also waiting at the top of the hour, the Associated Press preseason top 25 poll. That will be out, in which 65 voters across our great land has voted and submitted votes. And we'll see where Alabama and Auburn, where they rank in the polls.
Well, school is back in for most, but the summer weather, the warm weather, it's still here. And what does that mean? Stinging, biting insects. Hopefully not in your home or your yard, but let's be honest, some of you out there, you're dealing with this. You don't have to deal with this any longer. You can do what I did over 3.5 years ago and call our friends at Stark Exterminators, a company that's been family-owned for over 61 years. It's a company that you can certainly trust, and you're going to know it. The moment one of their team members comes to your home or your place of business, introduces themselves, always professional and courteous, and they're going to go inside of your home or your place of business, outside. They're going to walk the perimeter. They're going to inspect places you never even thought about. They're going to take care of any existing issues that you have with those pests, but also they're going to look for maybe some problems that could arise down the road. Stark Exterminators. Give them a call today, 855-STARK now, or go to starkexterminators.com. The free home or business pest inspection is available. Once again, 855-STARK now, or go to starkexterminators.com. And when you do so, always tell them Landrum from Jocks sent you.
So earlier this morning, we posted, as we do each and every morning, a poll question, Molly, and it has to do with the efficiency of quarterbacks potentially in the SEC.
Yeah, which of these SEC quarterbacks will have the most TDs, pass and rush, this season? Will it be Taylor Green from Arkansas, Lenore Sellers from South Carolina, Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt, or Jackson Arnold from Auburn? And right now winning with almost 60% of the votes, Lenore Sellers. Coming in next is Jackson Arnold with about 23%. Next is Diego Pavia with about 12%, and Taylor Green with only 7%.
Interesting. I think, if I'm not mistaken, last year, Peyton Thorne had 21 passing touchdowns, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns. So he had 23 total touchdowns last year. And I believe Taylor Green ended up with like 27 maybe touchdowns overall last year. So so that's just putting it in perspective. If Jackson Arnold, if we believe that Jackson Arnold will eclipse the 23 touchdown plateau that Peyton Thorne had last year. Diego Pavia, I think he had 8 rushing touchdowns and I think 18 or 19 passing touchdowns. So I think he was like 27 or 28 total touchdowns. So be very interesting. But our audience definitely believes, Conrad, that Lenore Sellers is going to have that type of season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the easy pick right there in terms of just who people think is going to be the best quarterback in the SEC. So, yeah, I'm not surprised to see Lenore Sellers. If he's better than last year, he absolutely should be at the top of that list. But I think we all know, right, Jackson Arnold, the ceiling in that Auburn offense is very high. Obviously, if Taylor Green's more consistent, you know, that's a guy that maybe, you know, SEC Mike saying he's the 4th best quarterback in the conference, you know, maybe that's something that comes to fruition this year. So there's a lot of upside there on that list. But, yeah, Lenore Sellers at the top for a very good reason, I think.
Yeah, because Lenore's had 7 rushing touchdowns last year. So I think a lot of people believe that they're going to probably utilize him a little bit more running the football.
I'll say no Rocket Sanders, so
yep,
going to need a little more help
than what they did last year. Going around the Southeastern Conference over the weekend, some scrimmage notes from other conference opponents for Alabama and Auburn. First, let's start with LSU. Garrett Nussmeier was the big story towards the end of the week. He had a sleeve on his left leg, and while he went through all the drills on 11 on 11, he did not appear 100% during the scrimmage. At times, he was favoring his leg, and it looks like he was a bit timid. Nussmeier looked hesitant, but he still made some good throws on some long passes. You're going to see a theme developing all across these first scrimmages. Defense ruled the day. According to sources watching the LSU scrimmage, the defensive line dominated, and the secondary had a very good day. So that was a report out of LSU. Meanwhile, down in Austin, Texas, one source told Horns 247 the defensive line is the real deal. There was a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks, so much so that they kind of let it play it out sometimes. The front seven dominated. Arch Manning did have a touchdown pass, but a lot of his throws, they were high. And the reason why is because the defensive line was causing so much problems in the backfield that he was rushing his throws. I will tell you that former Saraland quarterback KJ Lacey, he scrambled for a touchdown late in the scrimmage. So a lot of positive things about KJ Lacey from the Horns scrimmage. Meanwhile, in Gainesville, Florida, the Gators, they scrimmaged in the swamp. Sophomore quarterback DJ Lagway did not take part in the scrimmage, but he did participate in the 7-on-7 drills. In his place, Harrison Bailey, the senior, the Louisville grad transfer, was with the first team. The fact that Lagway did not play, it was difficult to get a true gauge, according to those watching the scrimmage, on how good the Florida offense could be. Georgia, between the hedges, Gunnar Stockton, Ryan Puglisi looked good on the scrimmage. Stockton ended the day on a high note with a connecting pass with London Humphreys for about a 50-yard gain. Running backs Chauncey Bowens and Roderick Robinson made strong impressions in the scrimmage. They continue to think that the Bulldogs are sitting pretty in terms of their running back depth. Their defensive line, very disruptive. There are signs, according to people that watch the scrimmage, that this group could be difference makers in regards to the Georgia season. But, of course, Kirby being Kirby, he was not happy on how the defense tackled, and guess how they ended practice? They all ran.
He's still got some old school approaches, right?
Yeah, he
Do
sure
we ever
does.
question, though, under Kirby Smart, if I never questioned the defense of Georgia?
No, not at all. Never.
They're always going to have guys up front
You
that
can
are,
question
that are
Mike
disruptive.
Bobo, but
They're
not the
always
defense.
going to have an All-American, in my eyes, linebacker.
Yep.
You're good there.
All right, coming up next, we will go to Auburn, and we'll talk to Jason Caldwell. He joins us next on Three Man Front.
10:43, three-man front. We inch closer to the start of the college football season. One scrimmage in the books in Tuscaloosa, also on the plains of Auburn, and a gentleman who has his finger on the pulse of everything going on down at Auburn is our friend Jason Caldwell, auburnundercover.com. He joins us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. Jason, how are you this Monday?
I'm good, guys. How about y'all?
We're doing great. Let's start back with the news that came out on the recruiting front last Friday. Auburn needed a big-time commitment, at least from the optics of it, for Hugh Freeze maybe anyways, and they got one. You get the number 2 wide receiver in the country, Jace Matthews, a kid from just over in the state of Mississippi. Tell us about Jace Matthews for our listeners who don't know.
Yeah, athletic guy. I really – the thing that probably jumps out to me more than anything is just his ability to catch the football in traffic. Like, he's a guy that can go up and make plays and strong hands. And so, look at him. He's athletic. He can run. He can do all that stuff. But it feels like he's kind of a true receiver. And so, you look at this roster and the potential of it at wide receiver now. Eric Singleton is a junior but could be a draft guy. Horatio Fields is a senior. Everybody else has eligibility remaining. So this should be another deep group of wide receivers next year. And he's a guy that you feel like has a chance to come into play early.
All right, Jason, let's talk about what took place on Friday morning. All indications from y'all's reporting at Auburn Undercover that the defense had a very, very good day. Keldrick Falk and the rest of the guys, it looks like that they had a really good day. What can you tell us about the Friday scrimmage?
Yeah, just from getting some stuff from inside and talking to people, yeah, I think the defense continues to perform really well, and I don't think it's necessarily that the offense isn't playing great. I just think the defense right now is ahead of where they are, and that's, like I said, from doing this for a long time, talking to coaches, that's where they usually are at the beginning. The defense should be ahead of that offense, and they kind of get worrisome if it's not. But now you start to kind of maybe start to fine tune the offense a little bit moving forward, and so I think you look at them going, okay, now you start to maybe focus in on what you want to do with certain players. Right now, you're just kind of running stuff, and so you're installing and running it, and that defense gets a chance to see it a pretty good bit. So I think now you start to figure out, okay, how do we want to do things with this guy? What package is best for this group? All those things. You start to kind of focus on some of those things moving forward. But defensively, it's been probably maybe the biggest surprise for me so far. My biggest question was on this team was going to be interior defensive line and linebacker. So far, those guys have played pretty well. And so, to me, that's a pretty good sign for this team that those guys, from an athletic standpoint, I thought they had enough of that. Just wondered if they would be able to hold up. And it's early, and you haven't played 7 or 8 games in a row and all those things. But so far, that group's looked pretty good.
Jackson Arnold, we're getting reports from you guys and people who were texting on Thursday before the scrimmage that Jackson Arnold might have been having his best day. What are you hearing? What have you been able to observe from the Auburn quarterback?
Yeah, I think he's done a good job of just not pressing the issue. I think that's been the key. Something I talked about with this team is I feel like for the first time in a long time, this is an Auburn team that you don't feel like you have to play perfect to win against a good team. And I think that's been the case the last few years. You felt like we got to play perfect and you got to press the issue and you got to go make plays. I think he's a guy that Hugh Freeze has mentioned it, said, look, just make the plays that's there to be made. And I think it kind of reminds me of watching Scotty Scheffler play golf, where you go, like, he doesn't have to be spectacular. Just don't make the big mistake. And that's what he doesn't do. That's the thing. I think you looked last year and you went, man, you had the big turnover game against Cal. You had more against Arkansas. You had the killer turnover late against Oklahoma. And you look and go, other than that, like, those things were huge. The rest of the season played pretty good, but because of those things, it wasn't enough to overcome. And so this team feels like you got a chance to overcome some mistakes, just not the catastrophic one. And I think Jackson Arnold's done a good job of just, hey, keep it between the lines and get the ball in the hands of your playmakers.
Jason, I know it sounds like it's been a very good camp, the first 10 practices of the 20 for the fall, but if you could just point out maybe one on the offensive side and one on the defensive side that maybe has just really kind of come out of nowhere, kind of the surprise guy that all of a sudden you're hearing a lot on the offensive side and the defensive side that maybe you were not anticipating before fall camp started?
Yeah, there's a bunch on defense. That's the thing. So you play more guys on that side of the ball anyway, so you normally hear more names over there. I'll give a couple of guys on defense. Morris Williams is one, freshman last year, that was a 5-star guy, and you go, man, when does the light bulb come on? And feels like he's done some of that for a guy like a Morris Williams. The other one is Xavier Atkins, the LSU linebacker transfer. I think he's had a really good camp. He's a guy that's really decisive and downhill. So those are a couple of guys on defense. Offensively, it's probably been Omar Mapson, true freshman running back from here in Auburn High School that was actually an early high school graduate. So he should still be a senior in high school. Graduated early, got to Auburn this summer, 5'9", 213. So he's a rock back there, big kid, physical, can run. So probably been the bigger surprise on offense has been the true freshman running back, getting some work and turning some heads.
Jason Caldwell inside the Auburn Tigers, Auburn Undercover, joining us here on Three Man Front, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. I know it's a touchy subject, but we have to address it. Saw the reports that Malcolm Simmons, talented Auburn wide receiver, his legal team had planned to file for a help me out here.
Youthful offender
status. What can you tell us? I know it's foolish to try to speculate on a situation like this, especially with legal proceedings set to take place. But what does your gut and people you talk to, just kind of observing the situation, tell you about maybe the likelihood that we see him this season?
Yeah, I think from folks I've talked to, and I actually had a chance to speak to his lawyer, and just kind of some background stuff when I wrote a story originally. And then I think they feel like that he'll play football again. I think they feel like this is one of those things where I think youthful offender was basically to go, look, this is involving a small child is involved with him and his and the girlfriend, and so I think they just said, look, we want this to be out of the public eye as much as possible, and so that was really the reason for youthful offender. I think they still feel like that things will go their way when the dust settles on this one. We'll see. I think it's going to come down to, okay, does the DA feel like they have do they feel they have enough to present it and go forward and moving forward with a trial, all those things. I think that's kind of the next step in this one, but should hear something maybe today on whether that will be granted and then what it looks like moving forward. And so I think that's the next step in this one.
Jason, when we talked to you in Atlanta, we pointed out the first 5 games on the Auburn schedule, how crucial that is. Just like it was last year, it kind of set the tone for the rest of the season, or at least the second half of the season. Has your line of thinking changed at all, especially after hearing the positive reviews at the stuff that's going on in fall camp right now? Is those 5 games is still a pinnacle part of what Auburn could potentially be this year?
Yeah, I think it's still, that kind of sets the tone. No matter who you're playing, really, you want to get off to a good start, and so I thought that was one of the biggest hindrances last year. Is he had all those home games and he dropped a couple of them, and that was a big deal, knowing what was still to come on the road. This year, you go on the road, and if you can grab a couple of those, then you got more home games in that second half, so you feel like, okay, that sets you up for success. And one of the things I've talked about, I did one of my 2-minute videos on recently, was that the thing I have to remember, and I have to do it even though I think about it all the time, but I think fans have to remember too, is that college football now is, and it's not quite NFL, but is more NFL-like in that we used to think about it and you go, well, you lose to Baylor, the season's over with. That's in our mindset, that's the way college football's always been. If you lost a game, that was it. Well, that's not the case anymore. You look in the SEC now and you go, man, if you're a 9-3 team in this league, you got a great shot to be in the playoffs. 10-2, you're in for sure. So you start thinking about going, like, you can lose 2 games playing in the Southeastern Conference and still be okay. And so I think from that perspective, I think it's important to realize that, man, if you play well at Baylor and lose, the season's not over with. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois last week in week 2 and played for a national championship. So I think, yeah, they're all important, but I do think setting the tone early with that 5-game stretch is going to be a big deal.
Jason, being around this program as long as you have, and you know when you can kind of read coaches just from talking to them, not necessarily what they say, but how they carry themselves. In the first 2 seasons, based on what you observed from Hugh Freeze and his staff, then to what you have seen so far this season here in the offseason leading up until the first game, have you been able to sense a difference in their demeanors and maybe sensing some of that confidence that's coming through?
I think it's part of what I mentioned earlier. I do think you can feel it feels different when you feel like you don't have to be perfect. And that's a hard thing to do. It's hard to go into a game going, well, we got to be perfect to have a chance. And you felt like that probably 4 times, maybe more than that 2 years ago. But last year, you go to Georgia and Alabama, you got to be perfect. Not necessarily Texas A&M, but you start thinking about some of these other games and go, we can't afford too many mistakes if you want to win that game. And so I think all of a sudden you feel like, man, you can go into games now and you can overcome a mistake and win. And so I think that in itself gives you more confidence when you look out there and you go, we're more talented than we've been since we've been here. So, I think that in itself gives you a different feeling going into a season.
Always great stuff. Jason Caldwell covers the Auburn Tigers, does a masterful job in doing so. AuburnUndercover.com, part of the 247 Sports Network, at ITAT Jason there on X. Jason, always appreciate your time, and we know you're busy this time of year, but you're so informative. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Jason Caldwell joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
You know, since 1936, the Associated Press, they have released a preseason top 25 poll. We're about to see in about 5 minutes where they have the Alabama Crimson Tide or the Auburn Tigers. If they were good enough to be in the top 25, we anticipate Alabama most certainly will, but will Auburn crack the top 25 according to the AP preseason poll? All that is straight ahead. 12 o'clock hour, Nick Kelly from AL.com. Thanks for tuning us in. It's Reaction Monday on Jocks.